3 p.m. Thursday. It's the Lake Orion Cares podcast. We're back for another episode. Enjoying some more summertime jazz today. Looking like summertime outside today. Did you get outside? I hope you did. Nice sunny skies. Looking great. And again, this is the Lake Orion Cares podcast for this Thursday at 3 p.m. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Ian Locke. This is brought to you by Orion Neighborhood Television. Don't forget to spread the word. This podcast is live Thursdays at 3 p.m. on Facebook. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Orion Neighborhood Television, that is, to get programming notices and current COVID-19 news updates. The Lake Cares podcast is also replayed on Orion Neighborhood Television throughout the week on Comcast Channel 10 and 20, and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. We're also on Roku, so check us out on Roku. Add the Cablecast channel to your lineup and see all of the great shows that ONTV can produce, and our video on demand, including meetings, sports, and a whole bunch of other things, including this podcast. As always, if you'd like to get a hold of us, send us an email, ontv@orionontv.org with Hello Cares in the heading. Send us some good news. Always looking for good news around town. And we can share it with our listeners at home. And if you're a big fan of Spotify, we're on Spotify now. Oh, we've arrived. So all the ONTV podcasts are on Spotify for your enjoyment. Just head on over there and search Orion on TV. Should be good to go. We got a stacked show for you today. Again, nice long one. We have members of the Lake Orion Lions Club with us today to give us an update on their activities and how they're coping with the current state of affairs and the things they do around the community. We know they're heavily involved with so many things, and they're here with us today. And we also have two guests from the Pollyant Trail, including their very active executive director out there maintaining the trail and doing what she can, and to share some fundraiser news that they have underway, and to also teach us a little bit how the Pollyant Trail came to be. What a resource in our community. True gem. And that's in our second segment, and we hope to have Joe Johnson. Again, he's out in the field, should be down in the village. He's working on a project for the DDA currently, right now as we speak. So hopefully he can pipe in about 3:45. We can learn about some businesses down in the village and what they're doing during this shutdown. A little bit of weather for you. If you stick your head outside, it is beautiful out there for the holiday weekend. It's looking to be very nice. Pleasant temperatures, anywhere between the high 60s, low 70s with Memorial Day Monday. Rumor has it that it might reach the low 80s. Is that true? Wow. And we're currently sitting very nice. Depending on where you are in the township, I saw anywhere between 67 and 70 degrees plus. And just another beautiful day in Lake Orion. Now for some news headlines. If you guys are paying attention to what's happening, I hope you are. Some good news, I guess, out of the governor's office, opening up parts of our state 2 months after 2 months of the shelter-in-place orders. Lansing released their opening of the state plan, which has the state broken down into regions. These regions are evaluated for certain criteria to be eligible to be open, and the UP is the first real main body of our state to be cleared to open back up, as well as parts of the upper lower peninsula, including the Traverse City area. This opening does not mean we should all flock up north to go on vacation, but it does mean that businesses in those regions can begin opening, and residents of those areas can get out and about a little bit more freely. And Southeast Michigan and the higher population areas in our state are not back to normal yet, and all residents should still maintain the shelter-in-place and social distancing guidelines already in place until we can open up. Now, we did have some news that just came out just before we went on the air. At least I saw it posted just before we came on at 3, that the governor has approved certain appointment-based businesses can start reopening. So there are restrictions, so watch out for those, but that's good news. Anytime we can open our businesses is a good thing. The Big Three started production lines this week, but Ford did have to close one plant midweek due to a worker testing positive for COVID-19. This shows the difficulty, navigating these odd times we are currently experiencing. So it's still with us. Just got to be take the precautions. News from the Lake Orion schools. It's not the best for those juniors and seniors out there hoping that the 2020 prom would be held in the near future. Well, those hopes were dashed this week as prom has been officially canceled for 2020. Kindergarten and school of choice registrations are taking place. For more information, visit lakeorionschools.org for links to get your student enrolled and get ready for the 2021 school year. If you'd like to send LO Cares some good news, always looking for those good news stories, as we mentioned before, email us at ONTV@orionontv.org. We're always looking to share all that good stuff around Lake Orion. All right, 3 p.m. Thursday, the Lake Orion Cares podcast. We're always trying to have interesting community members and community groups here on the podcast. We've had so many over the last several weeks. I've actually forgot how many weeks we've been doing this now, and sequestered in our basements and in our homes and all that good stuff. But we try to bring you, relevant information around Lake Orion from our colleagues who are doing great things around the community and our community groups. So today we are lucky to have in here members of the Lake Orion Lions Club. We have Mike Michaelis and Jim Leach with us. Thanks, you guys, for coming.
Thanks for having us, Ian.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us on the Lake Orion Cares podcast. And, this time of year, we're always looking forward of a lot of the activities that the Lions Club does year in and year out. And just like everything else, things have changed a little bit for this spring. Would you agree, Mike?
Yeah, they've changed a lot in a lot of different ways, and not always the way we want them to change.
And so I think you guys have an announcement to share with everybody about the Jubilee.
Yeah, unfortunately, this year's Jubilee 2020, we had to cancel for obvious reasons due to the virus and the crowd sizes and, the density of people. That means the Jubilee fireworks is canceled, the carnival is canceled, as well as the beer tent and live entertainment for the beer tent. So for this year, it's off, but for 2021, we will be back.
Now, there was some discussion about, when you have an institution like the Jubilee here in Lake Orion that's been around for so long, and, it really marks summer, and it's the kickoff, it's the thing, right? From kids to, if you lived here any number of years, the Jubilee's the thing in and around town, and to have it be called off is kind of jarring. Is there any chance it could come back, or are we pretty much just wait until next year?
Well, it'll be back for 2021, but this year, no. We did look at trying a different date and trying to get the carnival company, because they're all over the place. They travel a lot, obviously, and the fireworks and everybody lined up. It just didn't seem to want to work to do it right. So unfortunately, we canceled it, and it will be a huge fundraising hit to us, to our club. And that's our second biggest fundraiser of the year. So we didn't take the decision lightly. We really wanted to pull it off. We just didn't think we could do it safely.
Also with us here on the podcast from the Lions Club is Jim Leach, long-time Lions Club member, and you have other activities that you guys do besides just the Jubilee, which unfortunately is, it's called off for this summer. But what else do you have going on, or how can the community still help out the Lions Club if there's any other fundraisers going on that we can take part in?
Well, we're still trying to be as active as possible in the community. We're still, if people need glasses or anything like that, we're still going to help them out there. Emergency services, we're just a phone call away for anything like that. We had to cancel our lion races that was going to be happening in April, and we've moved that to October. So as long as the guidelines have been lifted by then, we will still have that. So the community is more than welcome to come out for that and support us there. We have our flare program coming up in kind of in place of the fireworks, but nothing can really replace the fireworks. But the flare is another flare night is another long-standing tradition in Lake Orion that the Lions Club has sponsored throughout the years, and those will be going up for sale here, I think, in June, and looking at having flare night on Saturday, July 4th this year, all around the lake, and we'll have the flares out at both Wonder Dry Cleaners locations. I'm pretty sure Rick's Party Store, and then also Ed's down in downtown. And look for boats on the lake selling them also. We'll have some members out there selling them that way.
Outstanding. And I know, the flare night is such a visual. It's such a. It's amazing how it really does fill out the lake when you see everybody taking part and buying those flares and getting those out there and supporting the Lions Club. It really is another step in the kickoff to summer, and I'm glad that can still take part and still hopefully get some fundraisers going for you guys to keep your activities going. Because share with some people they know the obvious ones, the ones we hit on, the activities you do and the sunglass or the glasses and the programs like that. So share what other options that you guys have that you're out doing multiple things. So in the community and beyond. So share with us and the listeners at home what the Lions Club does besides just the topics that we talked about.
I would also mention on the line races that are coming up this fall, that's a fundraiser for our scholarship program for 2 high school students every year. We help them out with some money for college. So that's an important fundraiser for us.
Yeah, and that might not be known by a lot of the high school students, that you do have these scholarship programs, and it's take part, write your essay, get that information in, and here's a little disclosure. My daughter just finished her essay and put the stamp on this morning and mailed it off. So she
did, because today's the due date.
It is the due date, and I'm like, why are you waiting so long? You had all this time. She's a senior. You were done with school, So, but it's great that you mentioned that, because scholarships these days are sometimes hard to come by, and you guys have sponsored that scholarship for a number of years. So thank you for that. It's a great service to the community. I want to go back to the lion races. I love that event. That event, I know what it is. It's a lot of fun. I think ONTV, we've had a lion in the race a couple years in a row running, and we always had a good time with it. Can you describe? There's a lot of gambling going on, a little rolling of the dice, and these big wooden lion. Can you go into detail about the lion races?
Jim, do you want to describe that one, or should I?
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks. So what we do is everybody buys.
I know, I didn't want to do it either.
Yeah, everyone that wants to participate, whether it's a business or an individual or a group or a club or whatever, buys a wooden lion out of us. They're probably about 3 or 4 feet long, maybe 2 feet tall, and they're shaped like a lion. You take it and paint it and decorate it however you want. Obviously, you can't be offensive with it, but you paint it up and put your name on it or whatever. And then we set up heat races, just like Saturday night race, if you go to the racetrack at all. But I think we have 6 lanes wide, and we set up 6 lines, and we roll 2 dice. So if 4 and 2 come up, the line in lane 2 moves up 1, and the line in lane 4 moves up 1. I can't remember. I think it's 8 spaces to get to the end, and the first line to the end wins and advances to the next round. And we have an overall winner at the end of the night. And then there is some gambling, as you mentioned. We have a computer program that helps with the odds, and I don't understand how all the odds work, but you don't bet with cash money. We can't do that. You have to buy, I think we call them lion bucks.
Yep.
It's kind of like Monopoly money. And at the end of the night, you turn your lion buck in to get your cash money at the end of the night.
Well, I just know that it's a riot. I mean, there's a lot going on in that room. There's a lot of noise, a lot of fun, and it's a unique fundraiser. It really is kind of a fun thing. I've never seen anything like it. And I know the footage we always get of that night is always some of the fun.
It is a little
footage.
more of a relaxed atmosphere. It's not really formal.
Yeah.
And I'll put it a little to the rowdy side, but still reserved and not dangerously rowdy. We have it at the KFC hall, so it's a good time.
Yep. And it that money goes to, do you have a specific spot? Is that
that's our scholarship.
That's the
fundraiser.
scholarship money.
Yeah.
So if you guys, listeners and viewers at home watching this, it's for the scholarship money to help the students around Lake Orion get out there and support the Lions in these Lions races. And I really hope it takes place this October. As you mentioned, it's been moved. If all the planets line up, as they say, we can have these Lion races.
Hopefully.
Yeah. How has your club adapted to what's been going on? It's a question we ask all of our guests because we all have to modify. I mean, we can't, usually you guys would roll into the ONTV studios, we'd shake hands and talk for a little bit and, reminisce about different things and get ready for all these events. But now we're looking at each other on a Brady Bunch screen. And, we're trying to at least continue our conversations and promotions and that sort of thing. How has this stay-at-home and the COVID thing impacted your club?
It did stumble us a little bit in the beginning until we figured it out. And we started using Zoom meetings for our club meetings so we can still communicate, take care of club business. And we're not as active out there because, we can't be. We have to follow the stay-at-home rules, but we have done a couple of things. We have 2 signs that are portable or trailer signs, and you might see them out on 24 advertising. The DDA asked if they could borrow them, so everybody knows that the downtown businesses are open. So if you're in the area and you need something, stop in and support one of the downtown businesses, help them out.
Yeah, absolutely. The businesses, it's one of the main reasons why we started the Lake Orion Cares podcast, besides getting pertinent information about COVID and news from the county and news from Lansing to everybody here in Lake Orion. But it is a way to remind everybody that our businesses need our support. And it's not just the restaurants, it's the mom and pop shops downtown and throughout the township that are struggling right now, and get out there and support them. Is there anything I didn't touch on that you'd like to talk about the Lions Club?
No, I got in what I wanted to, just explain to everybody why we had to cancel it. We didn't want to, but it's the right thing to do, unfortunately. We are going to be losing a big hole in our budget next year. So if anyone's thinking, I know a lot of people are out of work and hurting, but if you are in a good position and you want to donate this year, you can go to our webpage, LakeOrionLionsClub.org, and there's a direct payment through PayPal. You can make a donation. We've had a few people do it, even when we canceled the Jubilee on social media. People went up to the website and just donated a couple of bucks. So it's a great community.
Absolutely. Well, guys, from the Mike and Jim from the Lions Club, always good to see you guys, and we love what you do, and you are such a pillar in the community as an organization, and I know the both of you guys have been out there for a number of years with the Lions doing what you do, and just it's an organization like yours that really makes the community whole with so many different projects you do, and it's all going in the right places and for the right reasons. So I thank you for that, and also thank you for coming on to the Lake Orion Cares podcast and joining me for a little discussion today. And good luck to all you guys, and we remind you, don't hesitate to reach out to Orion Neighborhood Television if you need anything promoted, or we're there for you guys. So I wanted to say thank you on behalf of ONTV for the food drive. You guys are always a big supporter of our food drive with fish. So
we were down there.
Yeah, you guys do a great job of getting the word out and supporting us and donating and all that good stuff. So from the executive director of ONTV to you guys, thank you so much formally here on the podcast, and stay healthy, you guys, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you around town.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Lake Orion Cares podcast, 3 p.m. Thursday. Glad you could join us. Again, I'm Ian Locke here hosting once again. And we want to thank all of our new listeners coming online to take part in the Yellow Cares podcast. We're always here for, those good news stories around town. We always hear a lot of bad news out there going, nothing to make you smile. This hopefully will make you smile. So today, in our second segment, we have a group of very hardworking individuals to help manage something that is just a true gem here in Lake Orion. Joining us today on the Yellow Cares podcast is Linda Moran and Donnie Steele from the Polly-Ann Trail. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Fabulous. How about you?
Doing great. You're our first real outdoorsy group we've had in here for the last 6 weeks or 5 weeks. I lose track of how long we've been doing this. It's always been government officials, school district officials, all these heavy things that we have to deal with. But the Polly-Ann Trail is one of those things that just brings a smile to your face. It's a resource we have here in Lake Orion that is just a true gem, and we're going to learn more about it, everything about the Polly-Ann Trail today from Linda and Donnie. Linda, give us a quick overview of if people, I can't believe people may not have heard of the Polly-Ann Trail, so we'll just start with the basics. What is it?
Okay.
Where is it? What can we learn about it?
Well, the Polly-Ann Trail is a 16.9 mile rails to trails trail here in Oakland County. I manage from Joslyn Road in Orion Township all the way up to Boardman Road, right at the county line of Oakland and Lapeer. It runs through 5 different communities. We are one of only 9 pure Michigan trails in the state of Michigan, and Michigan is known as the trail state. So it's a pretty big honor that we have. I've been doing this for 4 years. I absolutely love my job. And if it's crazy, it's not too crazy for me to tackle.
So, real quick, what's with the designation of a pure Michigan trail designation? So what does that really mean?
Well, basically what it means is the state of Michigan has bestowed upon us the Pure Michigan Trail award that said that we have all the amenities that we are required to have to be a pure Michigan trail. The trail is well maintained. We have garbage cans where they need to be. We have map finding, wayfinding signs. We have clean, adequate parking lots. Things are maintained in a way that they feel qualifies us for a pure Michigan trail.
Awesome.
So we're real proud of that.
That's great. And and Donnie, how long have you been working with the Polly-Ann Trail? I know you do many other things in the township, but today we're focusing really on the Polly-Ann Trail and your work with them. So how long have you been with them? What do you do, and what can you share about the trails?
So as a board member for Orion Township, and I was a trustee, and now I am the treasurer, but you belong to subcommittees. How I always talk about legislative committees. Well, our committees are really near and dear to our community. And so the Polly-Ann Trail is one of the committees in which we serve on. And it's an interlocal, it's not a committee, it's a council. It's an interlocal council. And being that the trail dissects 5 different government municipalities, we have a council that is set up, and there's bylaws that an interlocal agreement of how to maintain it and how to govern the trail. And so we meet like nine times a year, every month, every month, but two or 3.
2. Yep, 2.
And we do in intergovernmental management of the trail. And then so one of the duties in which we need to accomplish is hiring a manager to make sure that they do the maintenance and the management of the actual trail. And so she works with us, and we work with her to try to create a good, really a product for the whole communities to enjoy. And what we really try to concentrate on is like consistency from the beginning of the trail to the end of the trail. So we also manage the cuts, the grass cuttings, how many parking lots, where would be a good spot for garbage cans, where do we need picnic tables, where people are parking on the road, so let's look at other different parking, or do we need to expand parking? And we work collectively to be able to accomplish these things, so we have a nice trail from the top to the bottom. And I'd have to say that Linda is an awesome manager, and the council does a really good job to try to work collaboratively together. And we also fund the management of the trail. Most of the trail is owned by the DNR.
Okay.
And they actually bought the rights to the land when the trail, was no longer being a railroad trail, a railroad line. And so they bought the actual trail, but they have asked us to manage it on the behalf of the DNR. And so that's basically my role as a council member.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's
and then
good.
Linda and I are friends too, so I'm real passionate about it. It's
It
in my
always
backyard,
helps.
and I try to walk as often as I can. Yeah.
Well, that's
It helps,
interesting.
it helps too.
Yeah, it's interesting about the DNR. I didn't know that. That was one of my little questions here. Going, who owns it, and who came in and pulled the rails out? And how long is it? How long? This is a long process to convert a rail to a trail, and we've seen a lot of these go up across Michigan. I mean, I think the goal was that you could go from like Southeast Michigan to the bridge with a trail. I think that's the ultimate goal I've heard someplace before, because we've been on trails on the west side of the state from Petoskey, all the way down to Grand Rapids and those things. So how long does this take? I mean, how does this transition from a rail to what we have today?
Well, years ago, Larry Obrecht probably was one of the spearheaders of the whole, let's convert this section of rail into a trail. And he and several people sat at a kitchen table in Leonard, as the story goes, and they said, we need to make something fabulous out of this. And they just made it happen. They called in favors, they got money. State of Michigan kicked in some funds. Daimler Chrysler kicked in, I believe it was $750,000, and
Wow.
They just made it happen. And Larry, I got to say, I call him the father of the trail. He was out there pulling tires out of swamps, and he was pulling the rails out, and he had trustees from the Oakland County Correctional Department out, and they were just mucking it away. Larry Mullins from Mullins,
Yeah.
he was instrumental in getting a lot of the bridges in Orion. Stan Aldridge donated a large piece of property and helped remove a lot of the rails in Orion, and sold the rails and donated the money back to the trail.
Wow.
So it's been a long collaborative process. Orion, owns most of the section down there. The Pollyant Trail owns some of the property, and then the DNR owns most of the property.
Okay.
So it just kind of, it just works. A lot of hard work, and it just works.
That's an understatement. I mean, rails. I mean, if anybody's seen a rail, I mean, those are massively huge, heavy items. Plus, you have the ties that go together, and the grading, and the bridges, and just like you said,
Exactly.
it turns from an eyesore to a resource. It really, with all that hard work.
Well, and a lot of the rails that were actually removed from the trail were sold to a secondary market, a lot of them in Chicago, because they weren't constructed like we construct rails these days. They were special. So they fetched quite a lovely little price, 20 years ago when they were sold off. So a lot of them were sold. Some still remain on the trail side. Here and there, you'll see a rail or whatever, but they're not your standard stuff you find today. These are special. These are turn of the century steel rails.
Wow.
So, I
Donnie.
do have to piggyback on what Linda said about the rails, is that the beams in which hold the rails were recycled, and Stan Aldrich, who had bought that portion of the trail, took those beams and he used them for a multitude of uses. And if you see around Canterbury Village, which he owns, is that you'll see the big, huge 4x4s or 6x6 old ties, I guess is what they are. And he has them as retention walls and steps, and they're all over the place. So he utilized, it's like every piece was used, and yeah.
I mean, that's great. I mean, so history's still hanging around. If you want to see a little bit of history of that, it's there. If you just have to know where to look for it, right?
Yeah. We actually are working with an Eagle Scout candidate right now to actually put in some signage along our trail that kind of draw attention to different things that used to be there. when the rails were there. In Addison Township at our parking lot at Lake George, the farmers used to come collectively and drop off their milk for the day, for milking their cows. The train would run through and pick up the milk from the cooling area that they have. The foundation is kind of still there a little bit, but not too much. But it's kind of neat. It's a little history that people don't really know about. So.
That's fantastic, and what a project for that scout. I mean, so you got my interest peaked. I mean, we love the trails anyway, just for exercise and outdoor activity, riding the bikes, going for a walk, that sort of thing. But if you can add a little history to it, Lake Orion is so full of history that goes back so far. I mean, the lake and the amusement park and all that good stuff, but there's little gems just around town, around the township that we have that have stories that need to be told. And just having a little nugget like that on the Pollyanna, that is just a great little piece of news. So that's fantastic.
Well, and I think Donnie has an actual photograph of Amelia Earhart flying her plane into the area, like Canterbury Village and right along the trail and different things. So that's kind of cool too, when you start thinking, hey, Amelia Earhart used to hang out. It's, it used to be something.
That is pretty cool. So funding, okay, so one thing we always talk about with everybody who comes on the Yellow Cares podcast, because this podcast was germinated out of the COVID-19 problem. And so here we are what we're living through, and we're always asking those who come on, how are you adjusting to what we are experiencing right now? How has it impacted the Pollyanna Trail? Has it at all? What difficulties or resources have you found to experience this sort of situation we're dealing with?
Well, a lot of it is we sustain ourselves pretty much with volunteer help. The DNR has requested that we don't have a lot of volunteers, have volunteers out there in case of, social distancing couldn't be maintained. So right now, I or one or two volunteers working separately are basically maintaining the trail. So by now we would have had the trail mowed several times, but landscaping was shut down for a period of time. I just talked to our pro cutter. We get 3 professional cuts a year. He's going to be out there, hopefully with the rain and whatnot, Thursday or Friday, and get the trail cut and get it ready for Memorial Weekend. The DNR has requested that our bathrooms be locked or not available. So that's kind of a hardship for a lot of come out, and they kind of expect, our pit toilets to be open, our porta johns to be out there, and they're just not. Several of our grants that we did receive from the DNR last year, they were suspended or pulled because they've rerouted the money to other needs, which, you can't fault them for trying to help people. And some grant opportunities that we worked on pretty hard for several months, we submitted, they're like, well, we're having to reroute our funding. So the funding's kind of going to other areas. So it's kind of put a hardship on us financially and labor wise. But, we work a lot with the court systems with the weekday, weekend alternative misdemeanor program. So every other Sunday we have 10 to 15 misdemeanor people, coming out and giving back to the community. And, a great group of guys, actually. We always have a good time. We do a lot of good stuff. And, I work them near to death. So, there's a lot of mowing and a lot of trimming and a lot of garbage picking up that hasn't been done because they haven't been able to come out. So we're just we're just mucking through. We're getting it done.
I just want to mention that the ironic part about all of it is that we don't have the volunteers, we don't have the workers, and we have usually hire for Orion Township part-time seasonal workers, and because of the shortage in sales tax, we had to make budget cuts, and so we're not hiring all our seasonal people. So we're unfortunately going to be doing more of instead of a preventative, reactionary maintenance on the trail. And the ironic part is that the amount of trail use, because people have been locked in,
Cabin
and they're
fever.
not at school,
Yeah.
and all the gyms are closed and everything's all the facilities are not being used. So the trail has it's like
Exploded.
just exploded. And so there
Yeah.
is more garbage, and there is more maintenance, and there is more use. And so, if anybody hears this podcast, bring a garbage bag as you walk along the trail, and Linda will come by and pick up a full garbage bag of garbage. And if you see anything, call Linda, then she can help, or call our communities, and we can go out there after the fact.
It's really amazing. Like, the situation is, obviously you get the one side, like you said, you're funding people who have never written grants or gone through that process. It is pulling teeth. It is a long process. It is labor intensive. And to have you go, yeah, we secured our grant, and then to have it kind of float away is difficult. But then on the other side, you get the positive. Everybody's using the resource,
Right.
So you're like, you got your pot, your yin and yang, as they say. And it's interesting to, everybody's got to get outside, and as soon as it turns nice, there's a backup on the trail, right?
Well, and what's kind of nice is I met a gentleman out on the trail, and he had 2 little kids with him. He said, I've lived in Orion for 30 years, and I never knew this trail was here. And I said, well, welcome. Yeah. And, Governor Whitmer, right in the fact that you've got to get outside, you've got to do something for your own mental health. And the trail is the best place to go. You can maintain social distancing. I mean, it's 17 miles. You can do a lot of stuff in 17 miles. And what's kind of nice, Orion and Oxford Township, Village of Oxford, a lot more people use that section of the trail on a regular basis because the population density. But I've seen a huge uptick in trail users at our Leonard's parking lot. We have a huge equestrian Leonard in Leonard. So we have a corral and things for our equestrian folks. And I've seen more moms, grandmas, and little kids on the bikes all the way down to Curtis Road. And I'm like, where'd you guys come from? Oh, we came from Leonard. And I'm like, you know how many miles it is? And they're like, oh yeah, we're having a great time. We're out here. We brought snacks. And I'm like, that is
Fantastic.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. I was out there today, and I ran into a family of mushroom hunters, and they were going out there, and they were picking some watercress from the side of the trail, and they were hunting mushrooms, and it was just kind of nice. And it was pouring rain out there. It was so when anybody would consider miserable. And there's people out there riding their bikes, mushroom hunting, walking their dogs. It's something to see.
It's amazing what people will tolerate now to get out of the house. Right? Because usually, like, we're supposed to go on the trail today. It's like, nah, it's a little gray. It might sprinkle on us a little bit. Now it's like, it's pouring rain. I don't care. I got to get out of the house.
I know. It's kind
some
of
fresh air,
crazy.
vitamin D, and, and just get out and about and just ride or walk. It's fantastic. Now you guys are having a fun drive, correct? Or a can drive?
Well, we are actually having a couple. Right now,
share that with everybody.
We are doing a pop bottle and a glass bottle, beer bottle recycling project. It'll go to the end of the month. Anyone who wants to help contribute can go to the Village of Oxford Police Garage, which is behind the village offices. And there's a sign that says Pollyann Trail Pop Bottle Drive, drop your bottles here, or look for the 1.5 million bags that are piled out there and just kind of put the bags out there. And then Chief Mike and I will we separate them by bottles or bags or whatever, and then we'll bring them inside, and they're secured, and it's it's safe. It's not he offered the police garage, and I said, what better place? Police garage, you don't have to worry about what's going on. The police are always there. So we were on Channel 4 News last night. They did a nice.
We heard. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. We had a great time. Chief Mike called and said, "Hey, Channel 4 wants to come out and do a story. Are you in?" And I said, "Of course I'm in." So we went out and we did the whole thing, and we kidnapped a poor lady. Kelly was her name. she came to drop off bottles, and I said, Kelly, you want to stay and be in the news report? And she goes, oh, sure. So she was a real big sport about it and had a good time. And we, it was just really kind of lovely. So that is going on. We have a couple of big repairs that need to be redone on the trail. We had a culvert failure, and we have some asphalt that has failed from some roots. So this is going to go and pay for it, basically. I mean, the council hasn't approved it yet. Of course, they haven't approved the bottle drive either, but surprise.
That'll be on the next agenda, right?
Yeah, that's on Wednesday. But they all are aware of it. And Chief Mike offered it because they wanted to do a fundraiser because they knew that, a lot of things were struggling people. Yeah. And the food banks were getting some good grants, and Fish is doing good. So they said, well, how about the trail? And I said, I'll take it. We were kind of hoping for a couple $100, seriously. And now we're in $10,000 territory. So, and counting. And I think on Saturday, I did a rough estimate of bags. I think we brought in $1,600 just on Saturday.
My word.
Yeah. So we got a lot of pop bottles, but it's fabulous. And, you just bring all the good, bring it and we'll figure it out. I've been emailing back and forth, and Powers Distributing is going to help us with the bottle return.
Oh, thank goodness.
Bags. Yep, they're going to supply bags, and we're going to bag them up in their designated bags, and they will be cutting us a check. So, great group of guys. Gary Thompson is a VP, and he used to sit on either the DDA or the chamber, and I'm not sure, in the village of Oxford.
Well, and that goes to what we've seen all across Lake Orion during this issue, and even Oxford for that matter. The working together, the businesses coming together, the community coming together, the government agencies coming together, the schools doing what you need, having getting everything in place for those in need, not just individuals or students and that sort of thing, but for the organizations that do wonderful things for our community, like the trail system. And to have Power step up, that's fantastic, because we know it's going to take about a month and a half if you're going to feed them into the machine at Costco, and they're going to kick you out of Dodge. You can't. You can imagine walking up with a strip. It's crazy. It's like, here it is. I'm checking out.
Yeah. And, there's a limit, and they haven't actually decided when they're going to allow pop bottle returns to be allowed again.
Yes.
So, we're kind of working out. Meyer had actually offered to help us out. And, they just can't take back the volume that we have, but Powers can. So that worked out really well. So, they really helped out. And I got to tell you, I work with all 5 municipalities, villages in my job. We have such a wonderful group of people running our communities. The police, the township treasurer, the township supervisors. These are all people that live in our communities. These are our neighbors, and they are so smart, always willing to help. I'm so proud to be part of all 5 communities. I mean, I live in Oxford Township, grew up in Lake Orion, and just what a wonderful group of people.
It helps so much too when everybody is on the same page. They understand the value of this resource, and it just makes it all come together. Now, I have your website up, pollyantrailway.org. A lot of great information. For anybody who's interested in the trails. It has maps, the features, highlights, contact information, you name it, it's there. So we encourage everybody to slide on over to pollyantrailway.org. I'm assuming you have a donation button on here as well?
We have a PayPal. Yep,
all right.
We have a PayPal that is up and running. If I have a couple more minutes, I got a couple more fabulous things.
We actually have about a minute and a half. We chatted before we went on the air. We love to hear everything, but we got about a minute and a half. So quickly, if you can roll through what you need to talk about.
You betcha. Okay, we are having a fundraiser, Buy at Wojo's, May 26th and June 2nd. Go to Wojo's, mention the Pollyann Trail, and 10% goes to the Pollyann Trail. Fabulous. We also have a rescued swan, a trumpeter swan from Addison Township we rescued last year. who is now the female mate of the male trumpeter swan at the Detroit Zoo.
Wow.
So yeah, Ron Swanson is his name, and her name, he was Prickles. She's been renamed Leslie Nope from Parks and Rec.
Fantastic.
So yeah, so go check out our little Prickles girl. She's gained notoriety, and now she's living the life of luxury at the zoo.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Well,
so she's at the Detroit Zoo.
That's fantastic. And again, if you're just joining us on the Lake Orion Cares podcast, I'm Ian Locke with the fabulous ladies of the Pollyant Trail organization, Linda Moran and Donnie Steele. And I just can't thank you enough for coming in today and chatting with us. I know the Wojo's promotion, we have that running on ONTV. We're pumping that out on Facebook. We're trying to get that information out. So get out there, support the Pollyant Trail. And financially, if you can, if I know you have a garage full of cans. Anybody listening at home has a garage full. I know it because I do. And it's getting outrageous, just completely outrageous. So if you have them and you're tired of kicking around your garage, take them on up to Oxford to the police station and drop them off and help out a great cause. We're going to push their donations up past, we just say over $10,000. Can we get it to 15? Can we get it to 20? That's a lot of cans. That's amazing.
It's unbelievable. And the photographs that we take are just shocking every day. And I'm just gobsmacked. I just can't believe how fabulous it is.
It's fantastic. So, you guys, I really appreciate it. Stay healthy, stay safe, Donnie and Linda, and kudos to what you guys are doing in the community, and keep up the good work. And it's just a fabulous resource. If you haven't been out to the Pollyant Trail, we encourage you to do so. The two of you have a good day. Get out there, have some fun.
Thanks,
Hopefully it'll
Ian.
stop raining. You can just get some sun on your face. And again, thank you for stopping in.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, great interview done earlier this week with the Pollyant Trail Group. Fantastic group of people doing great things around Lake Orion, as many of you know. Get out there, support them. The can drive and the pop bottle drive is still going on, and don't forget those dates for Wojo's. Check out the Pollyant Trail online for all that updated information. And as we roll on in the podcast, like we usually do, we head out into the village to see what the heck's going on. And with us today, again, is Mr. Joe Johnson. And he's out and about taking a peek at what's happening down in the village. Where are you, Joe?
I'm over by Village Hall, Ian. Beautiful day outside. Feels like spring. And as you can see behind me, we're paying tribute to the 500 plus seniors that graduated from Lake Orion High School.
And it looks like they moved some signs. They were out on the Pollyant, I believe, or the Paint Creek Trail, just lining the trail, and they brought them back home.
We have some visitors honoring the seniors. How's it going?
That's good.
So people are making their way down here to Village Hall to honor the seniors who have had the shortened school year. So this is just one way to try and pay tribute.
Hey, tell us about what's the weather like out there? Looks like it's fantastic. Good boating weather, you think?
Yeah, definitely. It is warm out here and just a beautiful spring day. Ian, I found a sign you might be interested in. Let's see if I can show you.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
There's my daughter. Yep. Class of 2020 headed to MSU, James Madison College. Right in the front row. How'd that happen?
So yeah, there. As far as the eye can see, it's just like I said, one way of honoring the seniors at Lake Orion High School.
Tell us about, you were working on a project down at the DDA. We have a virtual flower fair we're working on. Can you share a little bit of information on that?
Yeah, so I just walked over here from Ed's Broadway Gifts in downtown Lake Orion. The DDA is working on assembling a virtual flower fair where we're trying to promote some of the businesses in downtown Lake Orion. We've been shooting them all week. Just finished up Ed's Broadway Gifts. We got hippos lined up for tomorrow and a couple other businesses, and you'll be seeing that next week. Just a way to try and promote these local businesses that have been hurting during the shutdown. Hopefully they're going to take baby steps to reopening. They're already doing curbside pickup and ordering online and that sort of thing. So we're getting there. We're taking steps toward trying to get these businesses turning a profit again.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe, for taking the time, heading downtown. I wish I was in your shoes. I've been indoors all day. Be safe down
Get
there.
out here.
I'm trying. Enjoy the rest of your day, and like we said, be safe out there. Right? I see your nice custom mask. Hey, is there you had some information before we went on the air about was it Lake Orion Embroidery or somebody?
Yeah, Lake Orion Embroidery is making custom masks where you can have a logo embroidered onto the mask. And as a matter of fact, Ed's Broadway Gifts are making masks too, and they're for sale at Ed's Broadway Gifts. And they're actually donating masks to seniors, veterans, and people in need. So if you need a mask, come on down to Lake Orion, downtown Lake Orion, and there's plenty of ways to get a mask down here.
That is some good information. Well, thanks, Joe, and thanks for taking the time. And it's good to see you again on the Yellow Cares podcast. Look at those great signs, all those seniors, all that hard work being recognized there on the grounds of the Village Hall. If you get a chance, swing by, take some pictures. And I believe the signs will be out there till the end of the month. And then I believe the seniors can take them home. So thanks, Joe. We'll see you next time. As always, great reporting for the podcast. And be safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, Ian. See you soon.
All right, Joe Johnson out there in the village doing what Joe Johnson does. Getting the footage, working with the businesses, and getting all that footage. I don't know if you guys know, but Joe Johnson's been around Lake Orion a long time. He's basically the video historian of what's going on around Lake Orion since the mid-'90s. So he's one to know what's going on around town, and is still working with ONTV, which is great. Great coworker, good friend, and out there doing what he can to help the businesses of Lake Orion. Well, that's about it for us here on this edition of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We want to wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. Be safe out there on the lake. I'm sure there'll be a lot of boats cruising around. Be safe if you're going to grill. Just be safe in general. Wear those masks if you're going to go out shopping. And just watch out for your fellow man and what's going on, okay? I'm Ian Locke. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on the Yellow Cares podcast. Again, we say be safe, and we'll see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. Have a good weekend, everybody.